Calls for independent assessments of air quality have been on the rise in China recently due to public distrust over official data that fails to include PM 2.5 levels, which is an air pollution index used worldwide in their calculations. The massive difference between the measurements of the Beijing Environmental Protection Bureau, or the BEPB, and the U.S. Embassy has generated a national heated discussion over the standards adopted by Beijing authorities. On Weibo, which is the Chinese version of Twitter, more and more people are uploading and reposting screen captures from air quality monitoring applications that are generally from the U.S. Embassy. These highlight very unhealthy or hazardous pollution levels at times when China officially reports only slight pollution in the same areas. China acknowledged the people's concerns and stated that it uses a different system to measure air pollution. Well, to see how the air quality really is in China's capital, let's cross over to the newsroom where our researcher Julia Liu is looking into it. Thanks for joining us, Julia. So can you give us a description of how the air quality really is right now? And what are people saying about it?
Well, from what I can tell, the air hasn't been that pleasant recently. There's a kind of fog covering the sky all day long, and you can spot more and more people wearing masks while walking on the street to try to escape the harm the fog might possibly bring. And also net users are posting their experience on Weibo a lot. Here's a sample of some comments to give you an idea of what they are saying. Copyright Jing Jing says, "The air in Beijing has recently made my rhinitis more and more severe. To be honest, this city is not a good place to live in." And this poster, says, "Here's a picture I took just now. The fog lasted for several days, covering the city. Everything that is polluting the city cannot be diffused, which makes the city quite smelly right now. I strongly despise those who still drive cars and don't pick up after their dogs." And Zhang Quanling, a TV anchor of CCTV, is China's state broadcaster, has this to say. "My throat feels quite painful this morning when I was walking on the streets of Beijing, which is like a bathroom that I've just had a shower in. And I checked online, which told me that it's just a light pollution. I was thinking that I must be overreacting when I saw the news about the different levels. That confused me."
Okay, well, I want to know, what about the different measurements of the pollution levels between the U.S. Embassy and China's government? I mean, what's being said about this?
Well, first, here's the explanation given from the officials. Zhang Mingying, the engineer from Beijing Meteorological Observatory, said in an interview that those figures spreading on the internet are just exaggerations. The figures we provide are an average figure that balance places all over the city, while the ones they are using are simply from one place. This is unilateral. And what's more, the standard we are using are totally different. And the explanation has brought up some questions among net users. For starters, what are the standards? The embassy is measuring PM 2.5 levels, an air pollution index used in a calculation worldwide. And the embassy explained that PM 2.5 refers to fine particles under 2.5 micrometers in diameter. While Chinese monitoring stations around Beijing, on the other hand, track only larger coarse particulates, those between 2.5 and 10 micrometers in diameter. That's something that's earned much criticism online. And also some people simply think the explanation is too weak. San Ren says on iPhone.com, "Hey, everybody, here's a state secret. I can share it with you. And it only works in China. If some figure is quite small when compared to each person, but you still want to embellish how strong it is, then use the total figure. Don't worry, we have a huge enough population. For example, our GDP. And on the other hand, if a figure is just too big for people to handle, then say an average figure, which is lower. Anyway, people don't know where the average comes from anyway."
Well, that sounds pretty sneaky. So it seems that people online don't really trust the official figures, right?
Oh, no, not really. First of all, the reason why they feel distrustful is because the air they are experiencing is much worse than what the figures show us. However, the embassies and Beijing's results are consistent with the standards they use, which explain the two different measurements. Here, this poster says on EEO.com, "They can't change the world, but there's one thing they can change, the standard we use to measure the world." That's a trick used in all kinds of industries in China. When facing huge inflation, small increases in salary, huge increases in house prices, or food scandals, one explanation that we hear often is that our standard is different from that of foreign countries. Fake figures are just flying all around the country right now. And San Ren has this to say on iPhone.com. Here's one thing I saw on Weibo. Someone saw a sprinkling especially set beside one particular tree inside a park close to his house. And the reason is because there's an air quality monitoring machine on that tree. I admit that people all have the ability to deceive themselves, but that's not something that can be done by the government. And finally, I'd like to share this comment from a poster on iPhone.com. It's a test for both the government's accountability and the public's rationality to make the official figures get accepted from the public and to further let the government and the public improve the air quality together.
Well, I guess when it's people's health at stake, people will start to pay more attention. Thanks, Julia. And that was China Take researcher Julia Liu with reactions to the differing measurements of Beijing's air. Coming up next, China's searches. What's hot and trending on China's search engines?